The stars in Sector 9 burned bright. The Zaltor Dominion had ruled this part of the galaxy for over 20,000 years. No species dared to enter this sector without permission. To the Zaltor, they were not rulers. They were gods. Hi. Lord Varric stood at the center of the command hall, his robe glowing with golden light. Behind him floated the banners of conquered worlds. Before him hovered a large projection, a 3D image of a single black ship. It was not moving. "Is this a joke?" Varric growled. His voice echoed through the wide hall, where his generals and priests stood in silence. The image zoomed in on the ship. It had no markings, no colors, no flag, just pure matte black metal. No species the Zaltor had met used such design. "It entered our sacred space 5 hours ago," said General Crix. "We hailed it. No response." "Any scans?" Varric asked. "Nothing. The ship blocks all scans. Even divine-level tech. Can't see inside." The hall fell silent. That had never happened before. Varric stared at the ship's image. "Send the command of kneeling." A priest stepped forward. His eyes glowed with psychic power. He raised his hands and sent a wide-wave message across the sector. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Zaltor divine space. You are to kneel. Power down your ship. Submit, or be destroyed." Everyone waited. Seconds passed, then a minute, then 10-0. No sound. No words. No reply. Not even static. The ship just floated silently, its lights dim, as if it didn't care. "It mocks us," hissed Priest Mortal. "No species has dared refuse the command of kneeling, not in 1,000 years." "Maybe they don't understand," said General Crix. "They entered our core sector," Varric growled. "They know exactly what they're doing." The High Lord narrowed his eyes. "How close is the vessel to our holy border?" "Just outside the first ring," replied an aide. "If it enters further, it will be above our shrines." Varric clenched his fists. "Send Fleet Black Talon." The generals bowed and left. 2 hours later, edge of the core, 50, Zaltor warships exited subspace around the black vessel. Their hulls were bright gold and silver, covered in sharp weapons and holy symbols. They spread out in perfect formation surrounding the ship. Inside the lead ship, Captain Leraz watched the strange vessel through his main screen. He felt cold, though the room was warm. "It doesn't even move," he muttered. "Like it's waiting." "We are in place, High Command," he said through comms. From the other side came the voice of High Lord Varric. "One more chance. Broadcast the divine order." Captain Leraz nodded. He gave the signal. A new message pulsed through the stars. "You are surrounded by the divine fleet of the Zaltor. You will power down, kneel, obey, final warning." Everyone on the fleet waited. Engines hummed, shields glowed, weapons locked. Still, the black ship did not move, did not reply. Captain Leraz swallowed. "Your orders, High Lord?" Varric's voice came like a storm. "Erase it." The first shot a Zaltor cruiser fired. A plasma beam shot through space, bright blue blazing with power. It hit the black ship directly. Nothing happened. No shield. Flickered. No surface damage, not even a spark. "It passed through," someone whispered. Captain Leraz felt sweat on his back. "Fire again." 5 more ships fired. Lasers, plasma, disruptors, all hit. Still nothing. Then the black ship moved. Not fast, just a slow turn. Its front now faced the lead ship. The screen inside Leraz's ship went dark. "Reboot the systems," he shouted. Nothing worked. All the ships in the area began to flicker. Engines powered down, lights dimmed. Weapons went cold. The Zaltor fleet was being shut down, without any visible attack. Then a voice came, a whisper, across every screen, every comm line, every ship's speaker. "We warned you once, eons ago." The voice was not loud, but it shook everyone's bones. Captain Leraz gasped. "What does that mean?" The screen returned. The black ship was gone. Not exploded, not retreated, just vanished. Back on the homeworld, 2 days later, only one Zaltor ship returned to the capital. It drifted into orbit, lights broken, engines damaged. When rescue teams entered, they found the crew alive, but strange. Their eyes were wide. Their voices whispered in broken language. They shook with fear. The captain was found sitting alone, rocking back and forth, repeating the same words. The eyes, the human eyes, and they never blinked. High Lord Varix read the report with shaking hands. Human? He whispered. Beside him, Priest Mortel stepped forward holding an ancient book. Its pages were dark with age. We thought it was myth, the priest said. But the signs match. What signs? The ship's shape, the silence, the words. He opened the book and pointed to a drawing. An old black ship surrounded by fire. Below it, words written in dead language. When the forgotten ones return, the gods will fall to their knees. The Hall of Prophecy. That night Varix walked. Alone into the Hall of Prophecy, a quiet place deep under the Capitol Palace. Old statues stood in the dark. Carvings covered the walls. Words long forgotten whispered from the stones. He looked up at the central image, a black ship above a burning sky. He had seen this before. As a child, the elders had laughed at it, a warning from a dead age. But now, it had returned. Why now? Varix whispered. Why awaken now? No voice answered, but behind him, the shadows grew longer. Final scene. Unknown. Star system far from the Zaltor homeworld, in a dead system of broken planets, the black ship floated above a shattered moon. Inside there were no crew, no life signs. But the ship was not empty. In its heart, a machine awoke. Lights flickered across old screens. Codes ran. Symbols flashed. A voice spoke softly, not to the stars, but to something deep below. Protocol echo. Contact initiated. Dominion active. Return paths unlocking. Prepare. A second voice replied, older, deeper, stronger. Understood. Earth shall rise again. The Zaltor Dominion had always been feared. Their fleets ruled 10,000 systems. They crushed empires, silenced rebellions, and turned whole species into dust. When they spoke, galaxies trembled. When they moved, stars dimmed in respect. But now, the Dominion was afraid. They had sent their Black Talon fleet to destroy a single unknown ship. Only one ship returned. And the crew? Broken, whispering madness, terrified of human eyes. The High Council gathered in silence, watching. Footage captured before the fleet lost power. The mysterious ship showed no weapons, no shields, no insignia, just silence, just stillness. And then, complete shutdown of all Zaltor ships within seconds. How? General Crix demanded, slamming his fist on the crystal table. How can one ship disable 50 of our best war vessels? No one had answers. Priest Mortel stepped forward holding a dark data crystal. We believe the ship is human, he said calmly. A low growl filled the chamber. Human? Another priest asked. That species is extinct. Their homeworld, Earth, is dead. The ruins were found centuries ago. We found ruins, Mortal agreed. But we never found their dead. That made the chamber go quiet. High Lord Varix sat on his throne, eyes narrowed. This is no accident. That ship came here on purpose. Agreed, Mortal said. And if the old warnings are true, this is just the beginning, somewhere in deep space. Day 2, after contact, Admiral Terok stood on the command deck of the Dominion's Flame, the largest ship in the galaxy. It was 10 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could destroy a planet in seconds. He watched his fleet, 200 ships, carefully positioned in a wide hunting circle. We will not fail, he growled. The gods demand action. His second-in-command, Vina, studied the tactical screen. The target hasn't moved in over 6 hours, she said. It's waiting for us, Terox muttered. Orders? He stared at the black ship on the screen. No mercy. Full strike. We'll show the galaxy that no one defies the Zaltor. The command was given. The sky exploded. The battle begins. Missiles, plasma lances, solar beams, every weapon fired at once. The space around the black ship glowed with death. Shockwaves tore through nearby asteroids. Radiation levels spiked. Then, silence. No damage, no effect. The black ship simply rotated in space like a shadow moving across a wall. Admiral Terox clenched his fists. Target the engines. Keep firing. Vina stared at her screen. Sir, we're getting strange readings. What kind? Ships are losing control of their systems. Engines shutting down. Weapons freezing. Data erasing itself. Impossible. One by one, lights across the command deck turned red. Across the fleet, chaos spread like fire. Pilots screamed. Tech crews shouted for help. Ships began spinning. Out of control. Then the voice returned. Soft. Calm. Cold. You were warned, before your stars were born. And then, darkness. 6 hours later, near the core. No ships reported back. No messages, no signals, just silence. The entire Dominion fleet had vanished. High Lord Varric stared at the empty communication screen. His generals stood behind him in complete silence. This can't be, Crix whispered. 200 ships. Gone? We lost entire systems in the star plague, Varric said. But this was instant. Priest Mortal stepped forward holding a relic cube. He activated it. A hologram appeared, an ancient recording. Blurry. Old. Human. The message was from a soldier. His voice was calm, almost bored. We left the galaxy because we were tired of war, not because we lost, not because we were weak, but because we knew what we could become if we stayed. The message faded. Another voice followed. Female, soft but filled with iron. If we return, it will not be as friends. The storm spreads news traveled fast. The Dominion's control slipped. Minor. Races began to panic. Whispers of the silent ship spread across trading hubs, border colonies, and even black market halls. In the underworld, smugglers spoke of strange signals being picked up, human voices on dead channels. A mysterious AI code began infecting Dominion systems. They tried to delete it. It kept coming back. One message repeated in different languages. Observe, remember, prepare. High Council emergency meeting. Nightfall. For the first time in 10,000 years, all 12 god lords of It. The Zaltor met in secret, they argued, shouted, feared. Do we awaken the Star Harvester? One asked. That weapon is unstable. We are gods, screamed another. Why are we afraid of one ship? High Lord Varric stood slowly. His voice was cold. Because that one ship erased everything we threw at it, and didn't even use a single weapon. The room went silent. He turned to Priest Mortal. Tell them what you told me. Mortal nodded. There's a theory, he began. The humans never died. They went dark on purpose. Waiting. Watching. Preparing. For what? Demanded a god lord. For the day someone would try to play God. Deep below, Forbidden Archive Vault. A small team of ancient scholars gathered around a glowing tablet. It had been locked for over 50,000 years. No one had ever opened it. Until now, the black ship's signal had triggered the lock. Inside the tablet was a single map. It showed dozens of systems, marked as exclusion zones. They were places the Dominion was told never to enter, until, now no one knew why. Each zone was linked to human ruins, human tech, human code, and each had this warning, do not awaken the sleepers. Final scene. On a broken moon. The black ship hovered above a shattered moon again. This time strange lights moved across its hull. Old Terran script. Ancient war markings. Inside, Machines powered up. One by one, stasis pods began to open. Figure stepped out, tall human, eyes glowing blue. He looked at the stars and smiled. Dominion confirmed, he said quietly. Stage 1 complete. A second pod opened. A woman emerged. Her voice was sharp, strong. Is Earth ready? It's watching. They both looked into the void. The stars shifted. The silence deepened, and then the human warship spoke one word. Advance. The Zaltor Dominion was falling apart, faster than anyone thought possible. Worlds once loyal to the God Lords had gone silent. Space stations disappeared. Fleets never returned. Across the stars, fear spread like fire. But none of it made sense. There were no battles, no wreckage, no survivors. Only reports of black shadows in space. And a whisper. A human whisper. On Dominion World. Katra 9 Governor Zivan stood at his tower's top floor, staring at the skies. He could feel it. Something in the stars had changed. For days, the system's defenses had been glitching. Satellites going offline, drones spinning in circles. Then today, every orbital scan failed. Nothing was wrong, and yet, everything was. Governor, his aide said, running in breathlessly. We've lost contact with Sector 14 and 15. No warning. No alarms. Just silence. Zivan turned slowly. Send probes. We did. And, the aide swallowed. They didn't return. Zivan stepped to the window. The stars above were still, peaceful, but his skin crawled. Something was watching, and it wasn't afraid. In the vaults of Tellus Prime, the Forbidden, Archive's High Priest Mortal moved quickly through the dark corridors. Old dust fell from the ceilings. The air smelled of burned metal and forgotten time. He reached the vault. 12 guards stood around a black cube. It hummed, quietly, slowly, alive. It's reacting, one whispered. The human tech is waking up. No, Mortal said, grimly. It's remembering. He raised his hands. The cube floated. It unfolded itself like a flower made of metal and shadow. Inside, a hologram began to spin. A star map with red markers. Dozens of points blinked, each one marked human. Vault containment failed. Mortal's voice shook. They are not just returning. They're reclaiming. The human ship, moving again, in deep space. The black ship that had destroyed a fleet now moved again. Slowly. Quietly. But this time, it wasn't alone. Smaller shapes appeared around it. Old war drones, silent, dust-covered, but active. Each bore the same symbol, an Earth sigil lost to time. One of the ship's internal voices echoed through the dark hallways. Vault signals online, subsystems awakening, combat memory returning. Another voice spoke, a human. Let the old gods hear us. Let them see what they made us become. The lights turned blood red. Phase 2. Initiated. Back on Zaltor. Capital World. Panic in the throne hall high. Lord Varric stood as his generals argued. The council chamber burned with fear. We've lost 5 more sectors. General Crick shouted. They're not being attacked, they're vanishing. This is not war, another general said. This is a message. They're toying with us. Varric silenced them. Enough. He looked to the high priest. Tell them what you showed me. Mortal stepped forward and held up the crystal cube again. A projection filled the air. Ancient text written by one of the first Zaltor explorers. We found them on the edge of the void. Human colonies. Abandoned but glowing. No bodies. Only machines. Watching, recording, learning. They called it the Long Silence. And before we left, one of their machines spoke. When your pride blinds the stars, we will return without sound and without mercy. Silence filled the room. Varric spoke again. The humans didn't vanish. They built something we still don't understand, something deeper, older, something patient. Unknown region. Planetary ruins. A scouting crew from a fringe species known as the Krell landed on a world believed to be dead. They found cities, not destroyed but abandoned. Giant machines stood frozen, buildings untouched by time. Everything looked perfect, too perfect. The leader of the team, Commander Raal, touched one of the walls. It pulsed with warmth. "What is this?" one of his crew whispered. "I don't think this place is dead," Raal replied. "I think it's asleep." Suddenly, all their comms failed. From the darkness, human drones awakened, sleek, fast, without emotion. The Krell ship tried to escape. They never made it off the surface. Back on the human ship, waking, the forgotten more stasis pods opened. More humans stepped out. Each one wore old war armor. Each had no fear. Captain Rena, one of the first awakened, checked the data logs. Zaltor fleets destroyed. Observation systems working, recovery phase beginning. She looked to Commander Elias, standing beside her. "Do we wait for Earth's signal?" He shook his head. "No, Earth's watching." "But this part is ours." Rena smiled. "Good. I missed making monsters afraid." Behind them, the ship's AI spoke in a deep tone. "Coordinates locked. Next vault system, Shadow Core." "Proceed," Rena nodded. "Burn them." The final scene. Fear in the Council's eyes. High Lord Varric stood alone in his chambers watching the star map. He watched as red zones spread like infection across the galaxy, one after another, whole systems blinking out, not destroyed, not conquered, just claimed, taken. The Dominion's sensors couldn't enter them anymore. And the last message received from the edge of one zone was a strange whisper. The gods were never gods. They were just first, Varric whispered to himself, and the humans were last. Behind him, alarms screamed. Another fleet, gone. Another vault, awakened. The humans had not returned to ask for mercy. They had returned to show what patience and pain had built, and the Zaltor, they had no idea what was coming next. The galaxy no longer felt alive. It felt watched. From the core systems to the edge of known space, every species began to notice the same strange thing. Quiet, too much quiet. No trade signals, no pirate attacks, no distress calls. Stars still burned. Planets still spun, but the spaces between them had changed. Ships vanished without warning. Entire colonies stopped responding. Some whispered that death had returned to space, but others knew the truth. The vaults had awakened. High Lord Varric's desperate order in the Great Council Tower. High Lord Varric stood at the center, facing the leaders of 5 mighty fleets. "I want Vault 9 destroyed," he said. "Now, before it spreads." General Crix raised a hand. "We sent a full battalion to Vault 9 last cycle. No return, no debris, not even sensor echoes." "Then send 10 battalions," Varric snapped. "I will not let ghosts destroy the Dominion." High Priest Mortal stepped forward, face pale. "They're not ghosts. They're weapons, human weapons, buried long ago, sleeping beneath the stars, waiting for our arrogance." "Then burn them," Varric shouted. "I don't care what they are. Burn everything." But deep in his heart, Varric already knew fire would not save them. The assault on Vault 9-5 Dominion warfleets arrived at the edge of Vault 9's system. They formed a massive wall of warships, tens of thousands strong, each ship armed with plasma cannons, fusion warheads, and black hole torpedoes. The fleet commander, Admiral Solon, stood on the bridge of Divine Wrath watching the strange red planet on the screen. It looked dead, but everyone felt it. The silence wasn't normal. "Begin orbital bombardment," Solon ordered. Missiles fired. Beams sliced the sky. The entire upper crust of the planet cracked open. But then, the planet responded. With movement, black spires rose from the ground. Giant machines shaped like serpents and wolves stood up. each over 10 kilometers tall. They didn't make sound. They didn't signal. They just launched, straight toward the fleet. 10 minutes later, no response, the Dominion's command center waited. They watched the live feed. Then the feed turned to static. All of it, every channel, every frequency. Gone. Not one warship returned. Not even escape pods. Only one data packet got through before the silence. We didn't attack a vault. We woke up a human weapon world. There was no battle, only judgment. Panic rippled across the stars. On the human ship, judgment protocol active. Captain Renna watched her screens. She saw Dominion fleet scattering like insects. Vault 9 is secure, the AI reported. Its guardians have awakened. Vault 17 is next, said Commander Elias. What's inside 17 again? Renna asked. Something old, Elias replied. Older than us, built by humans for a war that never happened. Renna smiled coldly. Time to let it finally begin. The ship shifted. Warp drives lit up. The stars around them bent as they disappeared. Council world, breaking of the faith on, the council world of Veltaris. Thousands gathered in the grand chamber. Priests, rulers, scientists, all watched the high priest speak. He showed ancient human texts, writings from before even the Dominion's rise. They told us not to follow, not to study their weapons, not to touch their graves. But we called ourselves gods, and gods don't listen. Someone shouted from the crowd, "Why didn't you warn us sooner?" I did, the priest answered. But power makes ears deaf. A screen behind him lit up with new data. More vaults were opening. More stars were falling silent. Even non-Dominion species were vanishing. The humans had not just returned to punish the Dominion. They were cleaning the galaxy, resetting the board. A small colony, left untouched, on a peaceful moon far. From any major system, a small alien colony named Treshan 4 watched the events in fear. They had no weapons, no defenses, just farms, families, and stories. One night, a giant black human drone appeared in their sky. It hovered, watched, then dropped a small beacon. It flashed blue, and then the drone left. The beacon simply said, "You never declared yourselves gods. You never enslaved or hunted. You may live." The people cried, not from fear, but from relief. In the deep void, the builders speak in, a part of space no map marked, an ancient AI core awakened. It was built by the first human long-range fleet, thousands of years ago. It had no face, only light. It connected to all awakened vaults, all awakened war machines. Its voice echoed through 1,000 silent places. Judgment phase, 64% complete. Resistance, irrelevant. Moral protocols holding, only the proud shall fall. A new system blinked alive, Vault 17. The AI paused. Releasing prototype, Skybreaker. Last seen, the Skybreaker. Moves inside Vault 17, a massive figure stood still. It was shaped like a human, but made of black star metal. Over 200 meters tall, its core burned blue. It had no face, but its chest bore one word: Terra. When it moved, the stars themselves dimmed. It activated one simple command: find the ones who called themselves gods. Its engines lit up, space cracked around it, and then it was gone. High Lord Varric stood in the dark, watching stars go dark one by one. He whispered the words over and over. We were gods, and now we are prey. It started with a shadow, a long one that didn't come from any planet, moon, or ship. It moved across the stars like a hand wiping away light, and wherever it passed, the gods of the Dominion began to tremble. The first strike, Velthur Fortress. Of Fire Velthur was the Dominion's oldest fortress world. Built in the heart of a burning red star, it was protected by magnetic shields, molten armor, and ancient supercannons. Many said no enemy could even reach it. Until now. Sensors screamed across Velthur's command center. Object approaching. A tech officer shouted. No ID, no signal. Moving faster than light. General Tarvok stood tall, armored in flame-forged steel. Ready the fusion lances. No unknown gets close to Velthur. The officers obeyed. Turrets locked on. Lances fired. And then, silence. The screens blinked to black. Outside, the skies turned blue, a soft, glowing blue that pulsed with strange rhythm. Then, out of that light, it stepped in, the Skybreaker. It didn't fly. It walked through space like it was solid ground. Each step bent gravity. Each movement echoed through time. One punch, and the outer shield shattered. One glare, and the super cannons melted like wax. In less than 20 seconds, Velthur was gone. No survivors. Just one message left behind, burned into the ruins. This is the price of your throne. The council begins to fracture back on the council world chaos ruled. Leaders shouted over each other. Why hasn't Varric spoken? Where are our fleets? Why won't the humans respond? High Lord Varric sat silent at the edge of the chamber. His eyes were empty. His hands shook. He had seen the Skybreaker in a deep space feed, just before the feed went black. He whispered, "That thing is not a machine. It's a judgment in metal." The Tyranny ambassador screamed, "We must surrender." But the Kruvan warlord slammed a fist into the table. "You don't surrender to beasts, we fight. We have ancient weapons." A small voice cut through the madness. It was the human envoy, still present but long ignored. She stood calmly and said, "We told you not to follow. We warned you not to play God, but you made yourselves kings of the stars. And now, the stars are rejecting you." She turned and walked out. No one stopped her. No one dared. The Skybreaker speaks on board the human command ship. Captain Rena watched as vault after vault reported in. Skybreaker has eliminated 7 god worlds, the AI said. No Dominion response remains. Commander Elias asked, "Do we keep going?" Rena looked at the map. Red marks faded into black one by one, each a destroyed Dominion world. Then Skybreaker's signal came in. It spoke for the first time. Request. Update on status of Dominion God King Varric. Rena raised an eyebrow. Why? Final judgment requires presence of the prime deceiver. Elias swallowed hard. It knows him by name. The AI added, Skybreaker's memory core dates back 4,000 years. Varric's ancestors were involved in the original betrayal. Rena nodded. Then it wants to end what was started. She whispered, "So be it." Operation Crownfall. Begins human warships started moving. Thousands of them. Not just the black ships. Old ones too. Made of ancient steel and raw AI cores. Each one had been sleeping in vaults across dead galaxies. Each one had waited for the signal. And now they were awake. Operation Crownfall was simple. Remove every self-declared god from the galaxy. No prisoners. No speeches. Just removal. The false gods. Try to escape on the moon world of Lavara. 5 Dominion high priests gathered. Each had ruled their own systems for centuries. Now they hid like thieves. "We must leave the galaxy," one said. "Run to the edge, to the dark corners." Another whispered, "We should not have mocked them." A third said, "We can offer worship. The humans want peace, don't they?" Suddenly the sky cracked. They looked up. The clouds parted. The stars turned dark and the Skybreaker descended. It didn't speak, it didn't aim, it simply raised one arm. And then, Lavara vanished. No fire, no shockwave, just absence, as if the world had never existed. Inside Skybreaker's mind, inside its core, memories stirred, voices from long ago. They tried to become gods. We tried to stop them. We failed. But we left behind justice. The Skybreaker had no emotion, but it understood justice. It was not a machine of war. It was a machine of memory, and memory, never forgets. Back on Earth, watching the end in a quiet bunker under Earth's oldest mountain, a small group of elders sat. They were not rulers, not soldiers, just watchers. One of them sipped tea. "It's finally begun," she said. Another nodded. "The gods of the stars are falling." A young man asked, "Are we monsters for unleashing this?" The old woman answered gently, "No, we are gardeners cleaning a wild garden. Let the flowers grow. Let the thorns be cut." Last scene, Varix feels it coming. On the council world, Varix walked to the balcony of his palace. The sky above was red, but it was changing. Blue lights danced across the stars. He could feel it. The skybreaker was coming. He closed his eyes. He remembered the moment he declared himself divine long ago. "I thought I could rule forever," he whispered. Then the light above him dimmed. Something massive entered orbit, and for the first time in his life, Varix bowed. But it was far, far too late. It started with a shadow. A long one that didn't come from any planet, moon, or ship. It moved across the stars like a hand wiping away light, and wherever it passed, the gods of the Dominion began to tremble. The first strike, Velthur, Fortress. Of Fire Velthur was the Dominion's oldest fortress world. Built in the heart of a burning red star, it was protected by magnetic shields, molten armor, and ancient supercannons. Many said no enemy could even reach it. Until now. Sensors screamed across Velthur's command center. "Object approaching." A tech officer shouted. "No ID, no signal. Moving faster than light." General Tarvok stood tall, armored in flame-forged steel. "Ready the fusion lances. No unknown gets close to Velthur." The officers obeyed. Turrets locked on. Lances fired. And then, silence. The screens blinked to black. Outside, the skies turned blue, a soft, glowing blue that pulsed with strange rhythm. Then, out of that light, it stepped in, the skybreaker. It didn't fly. It walked through space like it was solid ground. Each step bent gravity. Each movement echoed through time. One punch, and the outer shield shattered. One glare, and the supercannons melted like wax. In less than 20 seconds, Velthur was gone. No survivors, just one message left behind, burned into the ruins. "This is the price of your throne." The council begins to fracture back on the council world. Chaos ruled. Leaders shouted over each other. "Why hasn't Varix spoken? Where are our fleets? Why won't the humans respond?" High Lord Varix sat silent at the edge of the chamber. His eyes were empty. His hands shook. He had seen the skybreaker in a deep space feed, just before the feed went black. He whispered, "That thing is not a machine. It's a judgment in metal." The Tyranny ambassador screamed, "We must surrender." But the Kruvan warlord slammed a fist into the table. "You don't surrender to beasts, we fight. We have ancient weapons." A small voice cut through the madness. It was the human envoy, still present but long ignored. She stood calmly and said, "We told you not to follow. We warned you not to play God, but you made yourselves kings of the stars. And now, the stars are rejecting you." She turned and walked out. No one stopped her. No one dared. The skybreaker speaks on board the human command ship. Captain Rena watched as vault after vault reported in. "Skybreaker has eliminated 7 god worlds," the AI said. "No Dominion response remains." Commander Elias asked, "Do we keep going?" Rena looked at the map. Red marks faded into black one by one, each a destroyed Dominion world. Then Skybreaker's signal came in. It spoke for the first time. "Request. Update on status of Dominion God King Varix." Rena raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "Final judgment requires presence of the prime deceiver." Elias swallowed hard. "It knows him by name." The AI added, "Skybreaker's memory core dates back 4,000 years. Varix's ancestors were involved in the original betrayal." Rena nodded. Then it wants to end what was started. She whispered, "So be it." Operation Crownfall begins. Human warships started moving, thousands of them, not just the black ships, old ones too, made of ancient steel and raw AI cores. Each one had been sleeping in vaults across dead galaxies. Each one had waited for the signal. And now they were awake. Operation Crownfall was simple. Remove every self-declared god from the galaxy. No prisoners, no speeches, just removal. The false gods. Try to escape on the moon world of Lavara. 5 Dominion high priests gathered. Each had ruled their own systems for centuries. Now they hid like thieves. "We must leave the galaxy," one said. "Run to the edge, to the dark corners." Another whispered, "We should not have mocked them." A third said, "We can offer worship. The humans want peace, don't they?" Suddenly the sky cracked. They looked up. The clouds parted. The stars turned dark and the skybreaker descended. It didn't speak, it didn't aim, it simply raised one arm. And then, Lavara vanished. No fire, no shockwave, just absence, as if the world had never existed. Inside Skybreaker's mind, inside its core, memories stirred, voices from long ago. They tried to become gods. We tried to stop them. We failed. But we left behind justice. The Skybreaker had no emotion, but it understood justice. It was not a machine of war. It was a machine of memory, and memory never forgets. Back on Earth, watching the end in a quiet bunker under Earth's oldest mountain, a small group of elders sat. They were not rulers, not soldiers, just watchers. One of them sipped tea. "It's finally begun," she said. Another nodded. "The gods of the stars are falling." A young man asked, "Are we monsters for unleashing this?" The old woman answered gently, "No. We are gardeners cleaning a wild garden. Let the flowers grow. Let the thorns be cut." Last scene, Varix feels it coming. On the council world, Varix walked to the balcony of his palace. The sky above was red. But it was changing. Blue lights danced across the stars. He could feel it. The Skybreaker was coming. He closed his eyes. He remembered the moment he declared himself divine long ago. "I thought I could rule forever," he whispered. Then the light above him dimmed. Something massive entered orbit. And for the first time in his life, Varix bowed. But it was far, far too late. The war was over. The gods were gone. And for the first time in thousands of years, the stars were quiet. But peace is not the same as order, and silence is not always calm. Humanity had destroyed the Dominion. Now every eye in the galaxy turned to Earth, not in fear, not in hate, but in something deeper. Hope, the council world, now just ash and memory. Where towers once stood, wild plants grew. Where thrones once gleamed, birds nested. The great palace had become a ruin. Varix still stood, frozen in crystal. Some called it justice, others called it mercy, but most called it a warning. Pilgrims from dozens of worlds came to see him. They didn't kneel. They didn't pray. They simply stared and whispered one truth. This is what happens when power forgets humility. Earth says nothing. But Axe humanity did not hold victory parades. No flags were planted on new worlds. No empires were declared. In fact, most human ships quietly returned to their home systems. Vaults were sealed again. War machines powered down. And the Skybreaker? It vanished. No trace, no signal. Just gone. But that didn't mean humans were forgotten. In fact, the opposite happened. The stars began to change without the Dominion's control. Things started shifting. On the desert moon of Rial, the slaves overthrew their last masters. On the ocean planet of Serenal, 100 species signed their first free peace pact. In the cold reaches of Noros, where the Dominion had once forced silence, children sang for the first time. All across the galaxy, change moved like a wave. And everywhere it went, The people asked the same question. What would the humans do? The first contact from below it began with a message, not from a warlord, not from a leader, from a simple scientist on a small world called Trexil. He had survived Dominion raids, lost his family. Now he sent a broadcast directly to Earth. You never asked to rule, but your silence was louder than any king. Teach us, not how to fight, but how to stand. Teach us how to never become what we feared. Earth didn't respond right away. But in time, something happened. A ship arrived over Trexil. It didn't carry soldiers, it carried books, medicine, engineers, ideas. And that's when the galaxy changed again. The human way spreads. No titles, no crowns, no temples. But everywhere the humans walked, things got better. Not because of weapons, because of example. They showed how to build, how to listen, how to question leaders, and how to never bow to false gods again. On many worlds, statues were built, not of Skybreaker, but of humans and aliens working together. No one saluted, but everyone remembered. Inside the Vault of Shadows, beneath the oldest mountain on Earth, the Watchers sat in silence. Captain Rena stood before them. The galaxy is watching, she said. They want us to lead. An elder replied, Then we must not. Another added, We can guide, teach, help, but never rule. Commander Elias asked, And what if another empire rises one day? The room fell quiet. Then the old woman spoke. Then we open the vaults again. Then we let the Skybreaker walk. Final scene, a message to the stars in. In a quiet room on Earth, a new message was recorded. Not for power, not for control, just for truth. It was simple, it was short, and it spread like fire. We are humans. We do not seek thrones. We do not demand worship. We walk beside the free, and when tyrants rise again, we will rise higher. Last words. The galaxy was no longer ruled by gods, but it was no longer afraid, because it had seen what one ship could do. It had seen a force that didn't bow, and never demanded others to. And now, the stars whispered a new legend. They commanded the universe like gods, but the human ship didn't bow. It reminded the stars, no one ever has to again.